Hey everybody, it's Brad. For this episode of Floriani Club, we are going to be learning how to build an applique design that's more than just one section of applique, and talk about how you might layer different fabrics on top of one another using applique. And I'm going to go through this a couple of different ways. The first way that we're going to do it is using the applique tool, and then we're going to build an applique using some more manual tools and show you the differences and why you might use one over the other. So let's get started. The first thing we need is to figure out what we're going to create, and to get ideas for projects that you can do for this kind of thing, I find Google image search to be very helpful. So unless you already have in mind a project when you're thinking about types of appliques to make for yourself, this can be a really helpful tool. You can see what other people have done. So let's go ahead and go to the internet. So we go to Google, and it's getting close to Christmas time, so what we're going to search for is Christmas applique. Now, if you're doing this for yourself and you want to make your own design for something else, like Halloween or Valentine's Day or whatever, substitute that for this search when you're doing this on your own. So what we're looking for is Christmas applique. So Christmas applique. All right, and so we've just done a web search, and we can just click on the images tab here, and we're going to get a bunch of images. So all of these different things are things that are either for sale or things that people have put up as just a sample of something that they've done. So these are all different designs that we could look at and emulate. So what I want to do is I want to do this piece with the Christmas tree in it. This is fairly straightforward, but because we have some letters here, the shapes are fairly intricate, so it's something that would be good to work with. So this is going to be kind of our template for what we want to do, and I'm going to go back and refer to this. So let's go ahead and hit view image, so I just see just this. So this is going to be what we're working towards creating, is this design here. So if we take a look at this image, we can see that the P is behind the E, which is behind the tree, which is in front of the C, which is in front of the E. So if we're looking at the order that we're going to put these things down, this would go probably first, and then after that we could do the E right afterwards, right? Because the only thing that's on top of that is this tree. But then we wouldn't do the tree next. We would do, well, we'd have to do the E next because the C is on top of it, and then the C, and then the tree has to be last because that's the only thing that doesn't have anything layered on top of it. So before you start digitizing, you want to think about these kinds of things so you have a plan in your head. So we're thinking we want to do the P, the E, well, the P, this first E, then the second E, then the C, then the tree. We could also do, if we wanted to, the P, the last E, the second E, and the C, if we wanted to do that. It wouldn't really make much of a difference, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. P, first E, last E, C, tree. That's going to be the order that we bring these things in. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first step to recreating this design, we're going to open up our Floriani Total Control program. You're going to click on Create a New Design. So we click there. To bring our letters in, we can't use any of the pre-digitized fonts in the text tool here, because those, even the ones that we can turn into applique, they're not going to allow us to work with the outlines at all to make it so that the overlaps are going to be perfect. So what we're going to actually use is the TrueType font artwork, which is this outline letter A here with a little arrow. We're going to left click on that. And first thing we want to do in here, when this little window comes up, you want to choose what font we're going to be using. We're not going to use Arial because that's pretty boring. For a project like this, I would suggest a nice fat letter. So it doesn't really matter what font you use as long as the letters are pretty fat. So I'm going to choose a font that I think everybody is going to have built into their computer already, which is Cooper. Let me scroll down here to Cooper. Here we go. And if you've seen any of my videos where I talk about dafont.com, dafont.com, it's a great resource for getting your own library of TrueType fonts to do things like this. But we're going to choose Cooper. I'm going to use the default style of black And the size doesn't matter because we're going to size it ourselves. So let's go ahead and just click OK. And excuse me, we're going to go and bring in our first letter. Now, we could bring in all 4 of the letters at the same time. But we're not going to do that. I'm going to bring in one letter at a time just to make it easier to work with the letters one at a time. So we're going to type in a capital letter P and just click OK. All right, so it brings our letter in. Now, the default size that this comes in at is about 1/2 inch, and that's going to be too small for what I want to do. Now, you can make the letters whatever size you want because applique scales really well. That means you can make it bigger and smaller really, really easily. But just to give us a baseline, I'm going to go ahead and make my P about 3 inches tall. Well, I'm going to make it exactly 3 inches tall by making sure that my letter is selected and then going over to transform. So I'm going to left click on transform, and then I'm going to change my height from 0.54 to, what did I say? I said 3, didn't I? So I'm going to change my height to 3, and then I'm going to click apply. All right, so there's my P. It's 3 inches tall now. I'm just going to move it to the left over here. All right, so we've got our P, and you see that it comes in by default, and it's filled. Okay, so you see this check mark next to artwork? That just fills this in with color, but it does affect a couple other things when you have this filled. So we're going to leave it filled for right now. So make sure that that check mark stays there. And then we're going to go back to our TrueType font artwork tool, and we're going to bring in a lowercase letter e. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to size this to 3 inches tall by going to transform in our properties, change the height from 0.4 to 3. And we could, if we wanted to, we could make excuse me, we could make the e a little smaller because it is a lowercase, but I'm going to go ahead and make it the same size. But it's just something that you could think about. You might want to make it a little smaller. You could if you wanted to. It just depends on how you want the design to look. I'm going to leave it, make them all the same height. It's up to you. And what I'm going to do is take this letter E and I'm going to change its color. It does not matter what color you choose. Okay, so I'm just going to make it another color by clicking down, left clicking on one of these colors at the bottom. And then I'm going to drag it so that it, excuse me, I've got kind of a cold, so coughing a little bit here. But so we're going to drag it so that it overlaps with our P a little bit. Now notice this isn't exactly the same as the design that we're using as a template, but that's okay. We're using a different font. I'm not rotating the E a little bit like this is rotated, although we could if we wanted to. So I'm just going to leave this overlapping the P. And what we're going to do now is we're going to use one of the artwork tools to remove the overlap between the P and the E. Okay, so I don't want to have, when I create the the applique, I don't want to have the P create stitching underneath of where the E is. So what we're going to do is have to work with our artwork outlines a little bit to make it so that that doesn't happen. So what we do is we're going to select both of these. I'm just going to left click and drag a box around them both and let go. Now they're both selected. I could also, in this case, have hit all items, but it's a bad habit to do that because later we're going to have more than just 2 objects. So we want to do that. The other thing you could do is hold down your control key and left click on the individual letters. That would select both of them too, and we'll do that a little bit later. Okay, so once you have them both, you're going to move your mouse over them and right click, go to transform artwork and choose remove overlapped artwork. We're going to left click on that. And now what we have, I'm just going to go, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and move the E so you can see it actually cut off this part of the P. Okay, so that gives us a P that doesn't have stitching all the way around here. There's still something that we have to do though, and that is, let me go ahead and show you why we have to do this. If I put a stitch on the P and I put a stitch on the E, what does it do? It creates a stitch that's going to go underneath of the stitching on the E. So we have unnecessary stitching. You see how this still has stitches here? We don't want that. We want to have no stitches between here and here on our P. All right, so I'm going to undo so that they're back to just being artwork. So here's what we're going to do. We have to take our P and get rid of this part of the line. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to uncheck the fill in our artwork tab here on our properties menu. So uncheck that and hit apply. And we're going to do this. We're going to do the same thing on the E. Uncheck that. Okay, and then so we're going to go make sure that in your sequence view the P is the one that's selected, and then you want to right click to bring up this drop down menu and then choose break apart. And what that's going to do is it's going to separate the whole, which is this part right here, from the outer part of the outline. And the reason we have to do that is because the tool that we're about to use only works when you have a line that doesn't have a hole in it. So here's what we do. We go to our shape tool, which is this one here, where it says shape. It's the third one down. You're going to left click on that and you'll see the points that make up this shape, these little blue dots. And what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in, and what we want to do is split this part of the line off from the rest of the design. And the way we do that is we right click on the first dot that we want to split off, which is this one. We right click there, choose split line, and then down here at the bottom we right click and choose split line. And now you see it, that whole part is no longer selected in our shape tool, and if we look in our sequence view we can actually see that this piece is now a separate piece. So all we have to do is delete this piece. I'm going to hit the delete key on my keyboard and it's gone. So excuse me, now we have a separate line here that does not include this line from the E, and that was the key for what we needed to do. We needed to split that off, that way we don't have unnecessary stitching underneath it here and it's going to look nice. So to create the stitches for our P, we want to recombine the whole with the outline. Okay, and to do that, you select both of them, either by selecting on the color here that includes both of these, or you could left click on each one individually and hold down the control key to select so that they're both selected. And then you right click and choose combine. Okay, so now this and this are going to be considered one object. We are now going to go down to the bottom toolbar where our digitizing buttons are and choose applique. Okay, now you see these jump stitches that show up. Your machine will actually cut those automatically. As long as you have a machine that cuts jump stitches for you, it'll cut those jumps. If you don't, then you're going to have to cut the jump stitches and it'll be annoying. But most machines nowadays will cut jump stitches for you. If you, this is where it's going to be different from using the applique button to not using the applique button. But we're going to go ahead and just leave it like this for now. This is kind of the simpler way, and like I said, we're going to go in and do it manually next, and not use the applique button. But okay, so now we've got our E. Next, we want to bring in some more of the letters. So we want to do a second E, so we're going to go in and use the Import TTF Artwork button. And we already have an E selected, so we hit OK. And we want to have the size be 3 inches. This is going to go at the end. And now we want the C that's going to be overlapping that. Use our TTF Artwork button, type in the letter C, and hit OK. Transform, set the height to 3, hit Apply. We're going to move that so that it overlaps the E slightly, and we also need to change the color. Okay. And at this point, really, we may as well bring in our Christmas tree too. The Christmas tree is going to be the A in piece. And so what I did was I went to Google image search again. We'll go to Google, and we're going to search for Christmas tree. Silhouette. Or no, I'll do Christmas tree clip art. Christmas tree clip art black and white. That's what we're looking for. And then we click on images, and we find one of these that we like. And the one that I chose is this one. I already downloaded it, so we can just open it straight from there. But we're going to bring this in, and trace this tree so that we have an outline of it. Okay, so I downloaded this. So you select the image, click View Image, right-click, Save Image As. Depending on what browser you're using, it may be a slightly different interface, but that's basically it. You right-click and choose Save Image As, and then we'll open back up our program. We're going to use the Backdrop tool to open this. Left-click on Backdrop, and what was that? Christmas tree. So we select that. Open. Excuse me. All right, so now we've got our Christmas tree shape as a backdrop. What we want to do is trace this real quick. I'm going to use the magic wand tool. That's this one. It's the one with the orange star on top. I'm going to left click in the middle of this tree, and it traces it for us. Okay, that got our shape in. Now we're going to get rid of the backdrop by left clicking on the backdrop tool, and then we'll right click somewhere and turn off show backdrop. So we've got our Christmas tree shape. We want to size this so that it's an appropriate size. So maybe we want it to be a little bit taller than our other shapes, so we'll make it 4 inches. And I'm going to go ahead, go to artwork, and fill this so we can see it better. Make it a different color. All right, so that's going to overlap both our C and our E. All right, so now everything is layered the right way. We've got the P under the E under the tree, the C under the tree, and the E under the C. All right, and we're going to continue digitizing. All right, so the next step in the digitizing is we want to digitize the E because we want it to sew out P, E, C, E, tree. All right, and that's the order that we have it in. P. Oh no, we don't. We have it in this order. P, E, E. Okay, it doesn't matter. We can do it. We can do it in either order. So we can sew out this part and then this part and then this part and then this part. So I'll leave it the way that it is. P, second E, last E, C, tree. That's the order that we're going to stay with. I could change that if I wanted to. I could switch the E's if I wanted to, but they're not affected by each other's layering, so we don't have to do that. So the next thing we need to do is we need to cut out these shapes out of the E. So we need to take our E and our C. So we're going to left click on the E, hold down Control, left click on the C, okay, and then right click, go down to Transform Artwork, and choose Remove Overlapped Artwork. So we left click on Remove Overlapped Artwork, okay, and that's going to have cut out these shapes out of our E. We're going to take both of these, we're going to remove the fill, and hit Apply. Okay, and now we take and select our E. We right click, choose Break Apart. So that takes our whole out of our rest of our outline. Remember, we needed to do that because the split line tool only works when there's no hole in your shape. So then we select the outer line, either by selecting it in the sequence view or left clicking on it in the design field. We hit the shape tool, third one down on the left, and then we pick our points. That's going to be this one here. We right click, split line, and this one here. Right click, split line. Okay, that cuts this piece off. We can delete this piece. You select it in your sequence view and then hit the delete key. We're going to go back to our shape tool with the rest of the outline selected, back to shape, and then right click on this point, split line. And what that just did is, see, this already had a split right there. So that split this piece off into its own piece. We have to go back down to the rest of the outline, back to shape, and then we're going to split the line right here. And that splits this piece off onto itself. Okay, so we're keeping this one because that's going to be visible. We want to have the stitch there, but we don't want to have this one. So this one is the one we're going to delete. Hit your delete key. It's gone. We've got our nice overlap ready to go on our C. We need to select everything in our E and then hit the applique button, and that will generate this as an applique. Okay? Now, something happened down here. I'm not sure exactly why, but we've got this little twist in here. And that's a danger of using automatic tools, is sometimes they don't generate exactly right. So when you get something like this, where it's got this weird ending to it, oh, you know what we did is we didn't combine these. That's what happened. Let's undo. We need to take this whole E, and we're gonna right click and choose combine so that it's all one shape, and then let's hit our applique button. But okay, so we still have that twist. I thought that we still might have it, but we did want to combine it first. But so when you have an issue like this, where you get this weirdness when you use an automatic tool, what you can do is kind of go around and fiddle with your points a little bit. So let's hit the shape tool, and here's what it is this, I didn't quite split it exactly right. So we'll take this point, right click and choose delete point. And notice nothing happens until I right click again to generate it, and see how that brought that back nice. So you just want to be aware when you're using an automatic tool, it doesn't always do it exactly perfectly. So you may have to go back and edit your outlines like I just did. But anyway, that's not that big a deal. So we've got our E is generated. We now need to do our C, which in order to have we said we wanted to do the P, the E. How did this get out of? Oh, I see. It's when I do the combine, it messes up the order. All right, so that's annoying. What happened is when I combined the C and the E, it actually switched their places in the sequence. All right, so if when that happens, you just kind of have to manually reset your stitching order. So I'm just going to left click on my E, my third E, or my second E rather. This is getting confusing. Left click and drag it on top of the other E, and that changes the order. So now it's going P, first E, third E, or third E, second E, which I really want this to sew out after the P. So I'm going to drag that on top of the P. So we've got P, first P, last E, first E, C, tree. That's the order that I want it to sew out. I want it to sew here, 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 tree. All right, so we just have to keep adjusting our sequence as we combine different shapes. So let's go ahead and digitize our first E now. And to do that, what do we have to do? We have to remove the overlap where the Christmas tree overlaps the E. So we need our E to be filled in and solid to do the remove overlap tool. So we're going to hit fill and hit apply. We're going to select our E and our tree, hold down control and left click it in the sequence view. And then we're going to right click, transform artwork, remove overlap. Okay, and see how that messed up our order? That's exactly what was happening, is it moved the order when we did the remove overlaps. So we need to take our tree now and move it so it sews out last again. Okay, that tricked me there. I didn't realize that it was going to do that. But anyway, so now we've got our E. I'm going to move it so you can see it. It's got those bites taken out of it where the tree was. Okay, so that was our remove overlap there. We're going to take our E, remove the fill from it, and now we have to go in and split the lines. Okay, so we use our shape tool. Oh wait, no. But first we have to break this apart, right? Because we can't have the hole in it. So we right click and choose break apart. Then we can select the outer line on our E and the shape tool. Then we're gonna zoom in a bit and right click on our first point that needs to go away, which is this one. Choose split line, and then we're going to do the same thing down here. Right click, split line. Okay, so that split this part off, and now we need to split from here, split line, and here, split line. Alright, so it's kind of hard to see these because of the color. I'm going to make this a darker color so we can see it in the sequence view a little easier. Alright, so The lines that we need to get rid of are not this line. This one we want to keep. We need to get rid of this line. So what you can do is select them in your sequence view so you can see what you're working with. And then you can see where it is. So this one needs to go. That one stays. This one needs to go. So we delete that. And then I also see that there's the little bit of it right there where I missed. So I actually didn't split this quite right. We actually need to get rid of this line too. And we can do that just by deleting this point. If we delete this point, then this whole thing goes away. And we won't have that little weirdness that we had in the last one. So we're going to right click there and delete that point. So this just goes from here to here. All right. So we've got our outer line, our hole, and our inside part here. Those are the parts we want to stay. So we're going to left click on what we have left in our shape, right click, and choose combine. Okay? So now this is all one piece, and we make it an applique by clicking applique. Okay? So we've got our shape. Everything's cool. We got every part cut out that we needed to get cut out. Now we're going to do our C. So we go over to the C. We're going to fill it with color, hit apply. All right. Then we select our C and our tree together. So we hold down the control key, select both the C and the tree, right click the mouse, transform artwork, remove overlapped artwork. Okay. It removes our overlaps for us. This time it didn't mess up our order, so that's convenient. But we're going to now take our C, remove the fill, hit apply, go to our shape tool, third one down, left click on shape. Now this time we don't need to remove holes, or we don't need to break apart. Why is that? There's no holes in the C. It's only one outline. There's no little hole in it like there is on an E or a P. Okay, so we just need to go up to the first one, right click, split line, go down to the last one, right click, split line. This little zigzag line is the only thing that we need to get rid of. We hit the select tool so that we can delete it. Hold down, or not hold down, just touch your delete key on your keyboard, and that is all that we need here. We click on the applique button, and there it is. Okay. And the last step is the Christmas tree, and we don't actually need to cut out anything from the Christmas tree because it's the last step. It's the thing that goes on top of everything else. All we have to do is select our applique button. Okay, so that's it. That's done. We could actually take this and sew it out. Now, what would this look like if we actually sewed it out? We can preview that by we'll select our letters. Let's see, I'll hold down my Shift key this time and select the first one and then the last one of the letters. And then I can, under my properties menu, I can hit fabric and preview a color. So let's just pick, it doesn't really matter. So we'll make the applique for the letters red. And then we'll take our tree and we'll make it green. So that's what it'll look like when it sews out. So that's, and you see we've got this where it doesn't show the preview right here. That's because this and this are kind of separated. But when we do it, we'll have fabric down there when we actually, if we were to sew this out. So how would this sew out? Well, here's how it would. Let's go up to our stitch simulator up here, and we can just start one stitch at a time. So first, it's going to sew out our placement stitch. All right. Oh, and I've confused my software by doing that. Let's hope it recovers. I might have locked it up here doing that. Let's hope not. Well, I've given it a couple minutes. It looks like I managed to lock it up. I don't know, it might be a bug or something. What I wanted to do was slowly watch it stitch out, and I just clicked on the stitch simulator one stitch at a time button, and it locked up the program. So don't try and do that unless you've saved your work, which of course I didn't save that. But basically what it would have done was, what I wanted to show is it would put down the placement stitch first, and then it would stop. Go to another color automatically because we use the applique tool. Here I can, here's what I'll do. I'll go ahead and close this. I'll reopen the program, create a new design. let's bring in a letter P. So I wonder if it had confused it. I'll go ahead and make this an applique. I wonder if it had confused it because I had all those overlapping letters or what. But anyway, so it would sew out the first one, right, and then stop, and then go and sew out the next one down. So between here and here, we put down our piece of fabric, right? So the first one goes down, we put our fabric down, and it tacks it down, and then we take our scissors and trim along the outside edge of each letter, and then let it sew out the satin stitch on top. Like I said, I'm not sure why it decided to do that to me. Let's see. Let's do an experiment here and see if it's a bug with the program or if it was too complex of a design for my computer to simulate. So I'm going to go to the stitch simulator, and I'm going to just left click and hold on this next stitch and see if it locks it up. Now, I think it was just the design. It must have been too complex to just hold down this button on the design that when I was doing it before, when I had the whole piece in there. Well, that's annoying, but I'm not going to go and re-record this whole video just for that, because the way that I showed you how to do it is right. It just the video doesn't look that great, and I don't have the design to bring back up to pretend like I didn't mess it up. All right, so anyway, that was doing that using the applique tool. There's another way to do it though. We could do it using artwork and the run tool and the steel stitch tool, and that's what I'm going to show you now. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in. I'm going to just delete this. We're gonna make the same design over again, and we're going to do it a different way. Okay, we're going to make our own applique stitch instead of relying on the built-in applique stitch. So here's how we do that. We're going to go in and we're going to bring in our letters just like before. We're going to use the import TTF artwork. We need P. I'm just going to bring them all in at once. P, E, C, E, because we're using the tree as an A. All right, and we want to make it so that all of our letters are 3 inches tall, so that it's just like the other one. So I'm going to make my E, C, and E 3 inches. We're going to make my P 3 inches. I had to do them separately because they were different sizes to start with. Okay, they all need to be a different, well, they don't actually, yeah, I'm going to make them all a different color just for simplicity's sake. All right, and then we're going to arrange them. Get them in the right order so that they're overlapping correctly. Okay, and then we need our tree in there in the mix. So our tree was here, and we're going to use the magic wand tool to trace him in. All right, and this is kind of for advanced users, so I'm not going to be quite as slow doing this one. I'm going to change the color of that. Okay, so the first step is going to be the same. We're going to need to remove the overlaps exactly the same way as we did before. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to remove the overlaps between these things that are overlapping. All right, so let me go ahead and fill this guy in so that everybody's filled in. We're going to do the P and the E, right click, transform, remove overlap, okay? And then we go to the P, remove the fill, apply, right click, break apart. I'm going to zoom in a bit, select the outside edge of my P, shape tool, right click on the first point that needs to split and split it, right click on the second point that needs to split and split it, okay? And delete the part we're not going to use anymore. Okay. Now this time I'm not going to recombine. All right, because we're just going to leave everything separate. All right. Next, we're going to do the C and the E, and I want to remove the overlaps there. Right click, transform, remove overlap. We're going to select our E that has holes in it, that has the cuts into it now. Remove the fill. Use the shape tool. Right click, split. Right click, split. Oh, I forgot to I forgot to remove the hole. All right, undo, undo. Break apart. I always forget to do that. All right, and then we're gonna right click, split. Right click, split. Okay, we got this part separate. Shape tool. Right click, split. Select again. Right click, split. And then we're going to get rid of this line. We need to find the other one. This one right here. Delete that. Keep him. Alright. And then we're going to do C, P, E. I mean, we could do the C next. It wouldn't really matter. But I'm going to do the E. Select the E in the tree. Right click. Transform. Remove overlap. Okay. Select the E, break apart. Oops, what did I forget to do? Forgot to remove the fill. Okay, right click, break apart. Okay, and we go to our E, use our shape tool, right click, split, right click, split. Okay, and then we're going to get rid of, from here, right click, split, and right click, split. Okay, so let's see, that's this one needs to go, that one stays, and this one needs to go. Alright, and then we're going to do the C, which is now in the wrong order, because, what's this? Oh, I don't know where this little guy came from. We'll get rid of it. Alright, so we're going to move the tree so that it sews out last. And we need to have the C here. We're going to select the C in the tree. Right click, transform, remove the overlaps. Okay, go to our C. We don't need to break apart because it doesn't have a hole. Shape tool. Let's zoom in and see. Oop, too far. Get rid of this point, split, to this point, split. Okay, select tool, delete. Oh, we forgot to unfill this. That's all right, it doesn't really matter. All right, so now this is an open line. And then this, we don't need to edit at all. Okay, so we've got all the lines that we need now to do this. What we're going to do is we're going to take all of our letters. Actually, we're going to take all of the whole design. Let's go ahead and collapse all of these object trees so that we just have our individual letters. P, E, E, C, tree. All right. And we want to, what we need now, and I'm going to take the tree and make it unfill it so that everything looks the same. So now what we're going to do, we've got all the lines that need to be there. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste all of these so that there's 3 of everything. Okay? So we make sure that we have everything selected. Hey, what happened to our P? Oh, I accidentally hit the eyeball. This happens all the time. You accidentally click on this little eyeball here and that hides. So I clicked on this and it made it go away. Anyway, so we've got this whole thing. Now we're going to select everything. We're going to copy, right click and copy, and then right click and paste, and then right click and paste again. Okay? So we've got 3 iterations of this. We're going to take the first set of letters. We're going to hold down Shift, select the P, the E, and the C, the first ones in the sequence view. We're going to make them all one color. So we'll make them all, it doesn't matter what color, we'll make them all one color though. And then we're going to apply a run stitch to them. Okay, so now what we have is this whole thing, let's open it up, is all running stitches. Okay. And what this is going to do is it's going to leave jump stitches like everywhere, but that's okay. For the first step, it doesn't matter if there's jump stitches because either the machine's going to trim them or they're going to get covered up by the applique anyway, except for maybe this to here. But your machine's going to cut the jump stitches for most machines anyway. So I'm not going to go through and do all the pathing and everything. But so we've got the first set of run stitches. Now we need, the reason that I'm doing the tree in a different color, I guess, yeah, because I want the tree to be last. So we're going to leave the tree alone. Now we're going to go and select all the letters again from P to C. Hold down Shift, select from P to C, or you could just hold down Control and select them individually. Okay, we get all of our letters again. We're going to change the color to a different color than the first one. Okay, and then we make that a run stitch. All right, so we've got our first set of run stitches and our second set of run stitches, and then we're going to take everything from the letters from here to here again. This time we're going to make them a steel stitch. Okay, and we're going to leave them different colors that time. Or no. We want them all to be the same color. I'm sorry. We make them all the same color. Okay. Now, the tree I want to make a different color than the applique. See, I want these all to be one color. I want the P, the E, the C, and the E all to be red, say, right? And the tree to be green. So we're going to move the order that the tree sews out so that the tree is last. So we're going to drag this down, and we're going to make this this one a run, and the second one a run, and change the color. The color doesn't matter, just like in an applique design, it kind of randomizes the colors. And then the last one is going to be a steel stitch, and it needs to be a different color. Okay, and I'll just make this green so that we can preview it a little better. All right, so how would this sew out? Well, first, it's going to do our placement stitch for all of our letters, but this time we can just use a single piece of fabric that goes around this whole thing instead of doing each letter individually. So it's going to go and sew out, hopefully this doesn't crash. Here, let's save it first. All right, so we're going to sew it out, and first it's going to do all our run stitches. Right, our first color was this red. There we go. And then it'll stop for the color change. We put our fabric down and we trim around. And for these parts where it's overlapped, we just kind of trim like a along where the line would be, you know, where it's open. It's okay that it's open. You just make sure that there's enough fabric that as if the stitch was there, right? All right, and then you trim around it. Well, you put the fabric down and then it sews it down, then you trim around it, then it puts the satin stitches down, then it goes to a different color, puts down your placement stitch for the Christmas tree, you put down the tack down stitch, you trim around the Christmas tree, and then it puts the satin stitch down. Okay, so the advantage there is that we had the ability to make it so that this whole piece part is all one piece in one piece of piece instead of having to put down each individual letter. It's a big time saver there. So we can go in and preview. Well, actually, no, we can't. We can't do a preview fabric because this isn't, the machine doesn't look at it as applique because we built the applique ourselves. But anyway, so that's how you kind of custom make your own applique without using the applique tool. And you can build all kinds of appliques like that. I mean, you can just, using the Google search, you can search through and find different ideas for different ways to do this. And so that's it. Hope everybody has a happy holiday, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.